Sweet Tooth Volume 1 Out of the Deep Woods, written and art by Jeff Lemire. Alright, Sweet Tooth is the next series I'm going to be going through on my channel from beginning to end. It is a DC Comics Vertigo imprint comic that was published from 2010 to 2013, over 40 issues collected in 6 trade paperbacks. DC is actually putting out a new miniseries starting next week called Sweet Tooth: The Return. And that is part of the reason why I wanted to cover this book now, to coincide with that new miniseries. Now, Sweet Tooth is being adapted into a Netflix TV series coming out within the next year or so. It's being produced by Robert Downey Jr., and Will Forte is attached to the project. He's going to be playing the main character's father. Now, Sweet Tooth is a pretty cool book, but some of you may never heard of it. So if you like things like Mad Max, or The Road by Cormac McCarthy, also made into a movie, or if you like video games like Fallout or The Last of Us, and you like that post-apocalyptic genre, or even if you like Bambi, I think you will dig Sweet Tooth. It's this pretty cool story set in this post-apocalyptic world where most of humanity has been wiped out, and those that have remained are living in pretty dire circumstances. Our main character is Gus, and he is a human-animal hybrid. He is a human and he is a deer. And he meets this tough older gentleman named Jeopard, and the two of them go on an adventure in this post-apocalyptic landscape. Now, I'm a big sucker for some post-apocalyptic stories. I love that subgenre, and this is a very fun exploration of it. Now, this series is written by Jeff Lemire, a very talented writer, also a Canadian, and you can see a lot of those Canadian influences in his work. He almost always has some sort of character that is a hockey player of some sort. Now, he's wrote a lot of indie books, such as Essex County, Underwater Welder, Royal City. At Dark Horse Comics, he has his own superhero line of books that he's spearheading, and he's like creating the whole universe called Black Hammer. So that's pretty cool. Over at DC Comics, he's wrote things like Animal Man, a very trippy series, Green Arrow, Justice League Dark. So he's really done a wide array of projects, but I think Sweet Tooth is arguably his best and most popular. So without further ado, let's dive into Sweet Tooth Volume 1 and go on this post-apocalyptic journey together. Issue 1, Out of the Deep Woods, Part 1. Sweet Tooth takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where about 7 years earlier, an unknown disease has raged across the world, killing billions. Some of humanity has survived, though, but they still get sick and die from this disease. Even more mysterious is that children born since the unknown disease started were born as a new breed of human-animal hybrid. Our story begins in a cabin in the deep woods. A little boy named Gus wakes up from a bad dream in a sweat. Gus is a very kind but sheltered human deer animal hybrid. He has lived in the forest in this cabin as his home his entire life. He is lying in a bunk bed. His father is sleeping in the bunk below him. Gus's dad is named Richard Fox. Gus's father, he is a deeply religious man and a little unhinged. He often cries at night and he claims that he talks to God, whispering to him. Gus's dad is a little sick from whatever this mysterious disease is that has wiped out much of the world's population. He may not have much time left. Gus, he goes to explore around their cabin in the woods and gather some firewood. We see a cross planted in the ground over his mother's grave, a symbol of Gus's father's devotion to Christianity. Gus narrates that he ain't ever seen no one else his whole life. It was just him and his dad. His mom passed away when he was very little. Gus explains that his dad said so few kids were born after the accident that God decided to make them special, so we got fur or tails or antlers, and his dad told him that he's the last one left. Gus's dad always told him that outside of the trees and the forest is fire and hell, so that Gus will have to stay here where it is safe. His dad says the trees stop the fire from burning us forever. And if we wait here and pray hard, one day we'll get to go up to heaven and be with Mom. That's what his dad says anyway. Now Gus, we see he has walked to the edge of the forest though, and we see a fence with a sign that reads Nebraska State Wilderness Sanctuary, and beyond the fence is a road. Gus comments, he ain't ever seen no fire out there, just snow and falled over crosses. Now the falled over crosses that Gus mentions are actually just power line poles, and Gus doesn't know what they are. Gus, he sees a chocolate bar just beyond the fence. He tries to reach his hand through the fence to grab it, but then he remembers what his dad told him, and he gets scared, and he doesn't want to go beyond the fence. So he leaves the chocolate bar behind, and he walks away and returns to his dad. Him and his dad are eating dinner, and his dad is coughing and hacking up blood. Gus is concerned, but his dad says, I'm fine. I'm fine. The next day, Gus is doing some target practice with his slingshot when all of a sudden he hears a noise. He goes to investigate the noise, and he spots a chocolate bar lying there out in the open for him. Gus grabs it and he opens the bar, sniffs it, and he eats some of it. Gus returns to his dad with the chocolate bar, and Gus's dad is angry with him. He sees what Gus has. His dad snatches the chocolate bar from Gus's hand and asks him, where did you get this? Gus begins crying. His dad calms down a bit though, and he tells Gus, it's okay, listen to me. Where did you get this? It's important that you tell me. Gus explains that he found it in the woods in the snow. Gus's dad says, if you saw anything different out there, you need to tell the truth. You know what I told you about hunters and how they would try to trick you with these? Gus says he saw nothing different. Now his father confides in Gus that Gus has to be careful, and the disease, it's in him now, and it's bad, and he's going to be going away soon. Gus asks how long until he goes, and his dad replies, hard to say. It took your mama quick. Others lasted a lot longer, weeks, months maybe. But Gus, when I'm gone, you have to be careful. You can never leave the woods, no matter what. If you see things like this again, you should run and hide, like I showed you. Promise me. Gus promises his dad, and they hug. After that, Gus's dad deteriorated. His dad just stopped talking to God. He wouldn't read from the Bible no more. He wouldn't say much of anything. And as it got warmer and the spring came and the snow melted away, so did his dad until there was nothing left. Gus's dad died. Gus, he ended up burying his dad out back by his mom's body. And now it was just Gus all alone by himself in the woods. One day, Gus saw a deer, a live deer, in the flesh, like him, but not a hybrid. Gus, he made eye contact with the deer. Then eventually, the deer got shot in the head. Gus, he hears some hunters talking. The one hunter says, this way, I saw him through here. Gus hides. The hunters arrive and they begin arguing. The one hunter says, I thought you said it was a hybrid. The other hunter replies, it was a boy, I seen it. Other hunter says, well, this sure as hell don't look like no kid, does it, asshole? Other hunter says, no, there was a kid, too, a deer one. There, look. Shit, tracks headed into the tree line. Told ya, now maybe you'll listen to me, huh? All of a sudden, one of the hunters gets hit in the head with a rock from Gus's slingshot. It really doesn't have much effect on the hunter though. The hunters spot Gus and begin chasing after him. Gus, he's running as fast as he can. He's scared, he's crying. He trips over some fallen tree branches. Gus is now lying on the ground, helpless. The hunters say, looks like this is our lucky day. You ever seen a deer one before? Nope. Ain't never seen one this old either. So the hunters, they are getting ready to leave with Gus as Gus appears to be valuable. The hunters discuss how much they think they'll get for Gus. Just then, one of the hunters gets shot in the head, his head exploding from the bullet. The friend of the dead hunter is scared and says, oh God! Then we see a new man, the man who shot the hunter. The new man says, "God? Ain't no God here." The new man who saved Gus is named Tommy Jeopard. He is a crude, rough, tough man. Issue 2, Out of the Deep Woods, Part 2. Gus is scared. The hunter tells this Jeopard, "Come on, man, please, we can share him." Jeopard tells the man to shut up. Jeopard asks the man, "Is it just the two of you?" And the hunter says, "Yeah." And Jeopard replies, "Good." And he smashes the guy's head into a tree. Jeopard tells Gus, "It's okay, kid." But Jeopard notices that Gus ran away. Now Jeopard, he walks around a bit and sees the cabin that Gus was living in with his dad. We see Gus is hiding under the bed in the cabin. Jeopard, he eventually enters the cabin and he finds Gus inside and grabs him. Jeopard comments about how he ain't ever seen a deer one before. They stare at each other. Jeopard tries to reassure the kid that he ain't gonna hurt him. Jeopard asks if Gus is alone and where are his mom and dad. And Gus answers, They've gone to heaven." Jeopard replies, "Yeah, right. How long did it get him?" And Gus says, "What?" And Jeopard continues, "The plague, the affliction, the fucking disease. How long ago did they get sick?" Gus replies, "My daddy left when it was last snow out. I don't remember my mom. She left a long time ago when I was just little." Jeopard says, "How long you been here, kid?" Gus replies, I've always been here." Jeopard asks, "How old are you?" Gus says, "My dad said I was 9 last summer." And Jeopard replies, "That's not possible. The sick hit 7 years ago. Your kind didn't start till after that." Gus, pretty confident, says, "Nope. Dad says I was 9. Jeopard says, "Ain't possible. Your daddy was wrong. So you got a name there, Bambi?" And Gus says, "I'm Gus." Jeopard introduces himself. "Gus, eh? I'm Jeopard, you know, like a leopard." Gus, he's confused. "What's a leopard?" Jeopard says, "Never mind. Put that on. It'll help hide them horns. It'll be dark soon. We gotta move." Gus tells Jeopard, "I ain't going nowhere with you." Jeopard tells him, "Look, kid, them hunters found you. That means others will be coming soon. It ain't safe here for you no more. Your daddy ever tell you about the preserve?" Jeopard tells Gus about this place called the Preserve. He says it's a safe place for little half-animal kids like Gus, and hardly anyone knows where it is, but he does, and it's just a few days' ride from here. He tells Gus that he can take him there. Gus adamantly says he ain't going, and Jeopard tells Gus, "Fine, stay here then. I don't give a flying fuck no more. Wasted bullets on those bastards for nothing." Jeopard gives Gus his slingshot back and says, "Good luck, kid," as he heads out the door. Now Gus, thinking it over, ends up running after Jeopard. He tells him, "Wait." Jeopard asks him what he wants, and Gus says, I don't want to be alone no more." And Jeopard tells him, "Fine, it's gonna be dark soon, we gotta move." Gus walks past the fence and grabs Jeopard's hand. He narrates that, "My dad said I ain't never supposed to leave the woods. He said if I did, I'd catch fire and burn up forever. Said I'd be safe in the trees, and that outside was only sinners and pain and hell. My dad said a lot of things, but my daddy ain't here no more. Now it's just me and the big man." The two of them head on horseback, now past the fence, and they're heading to this supposed preserve that Jeopard was talking about. Gus and Jeopard make camp for the night behind an old gas station. Jeopard, he's cooking the meat of some sort of animal over a small fire. Gus, he refuses to eat the meat. He says, "I ain't eating no living thing." Jeopard tells Gus, "It ain't living no more, and it's good. What the hell did you and your daddy eat out in them woods anyway? I didn't see no cans or nothing in that cabin." Gus explains how Him and his dad had a garden, and his dad would grow lots of stuff for them to eat. Jeopard, he gives Gus a chocolate bar he has, and Gus takes it and eats it, and he seems to really enjoy the chocolate bar. And Jeopard tells Gus, "There you go, Sweet Tooth. You gonna stop your pouting now?" So this is how Jeopard decided on giving Gus his nickname, calling him Sweet Tooth because Gus loves chocolate so much. The two of them talk some more, and Jeopard asks Gus what exactly his dad told him of the world. And Gus answers, "He said God came and took most people up to heaven one day, and the rest of us gotta pray real hard so we can go too." Jeopard tells Gus, "That's what I call sugarcoating it. Look it, kid. Everyone got sick. Everyone got real sick and died. And those who ain't died of it yet, sure as hell gonna soon. It's in all of us, see? All of us, except your kind. You hybrid kids don't get sick. Something messed up in your DNA or some shit. Who knows? That's why everybody wants to get a piece of you. That's why we gotta get to the preserve, see? And God ain't got nothing to do with it, so you can forget that nonsense right now. I don't want to hear that no more, got it?" Gus replies, "Yes, sir." Jeopard tells Gus, "Good boy. Now let's get us some sleep. I'm beat. Sleep tight, Sweet Tooth." At some point during the night, as they are trying to sleep, they get attacked by some cultists wearing weird masks. Gus calls for Jeopard's help, and Jeopard tells the group, "Back off, freaks, this one's mine." The cultists attack Jeopard, and Jeopard takes a spiked bat to the head and chest. Jeopard is jamming his fingers into their eyes and biting on their arms and slashing at their throats. He kills two of the cultists. The last cultist is running away with Gus. Jeopard, he says shit. He grabs his rifle, he aims carefully, and he takes a shot, and then boom, headshot on that cultist, and the cultist goes down. The cultist, still alive, is grumbling in pain, and Jeopard tells him to shut up as he shoots him again, executing him. Jeopard tells Gus, panting, "I knew you were more trouble than you're worth." Jeopard then realizes that he lost a lot of blood from his injuries, and he passes out and faints. Issue 3, Out of the Deep Woods, Part 3. Gus leads the horse with the Jeopard bleeding out on it down the road. He eventually finds a nearby barn they can hide in. Gus thinks it looks safe and brings Jeopard inside the barn and sets him up against the wall. Jeopard, delirious, says the name Louise. Louise. Louise is the name of Jeopard's wife. Gus, confused though, says, "No, it's me, Gus." Gus leaves Jeopard and heads up the road alone by himself to a nearby house. Gus, he's gonna go look for some supplies, any food he can find, perhaps some stuff to fix Jeopard's wounds a bit. So Gus, he goes into the nearby abandoned house. He is scrounging around the cupboards looking for food. He walks upstairs, he sees family photos on the wall. He opens a door to a bedroom and he sees a dead child inside, lying in his bed. The child has a Batman poster on the wall. The dead child had a book in his arms. The book appears to be about a deer named Dandy. Basically looks like a ripoff of Bambi to me. Gus returns to Jeopard, and it looks like Gus patched Jeopard up a bit, as well as raided Jeopard's supply of chocolate, which Gus is devouring. Gus tells Jeopard how he's never seen a house before this. He's only seen pictures in some of his dad's old books. The house, it was bigger than he thought it would be inside. Gus, he goes to sleep. He looks at the cover of this new Dandy book he got, and he dozes off. While Gus is sleeping in his dream, he is talking to that dear Dandy from the book. Dandy tells Gus to gather as much food as he can and run away back to the woods, and that Jeopard is a bad man, a very bad man, and soon there will be even more bad men. Then Dandy runs away and a scary creature on a horse with these dog hybrid people arrives, and Gus gets scared and he wakes up from this scary dream. When Gus is awake, Jeopard is also awake and seems to be better now. And Jeopard is a little upset with Gus because Gus ate his whole supply of chocolate. Jeopard was saving those. Now Gus patched Jeopard up. Apparently Gus's dad taught him how to do that. This is why Jeopard is now awake and healed. Gus also managed to find some food in that house for the both of them. In the morning, with Jeopard now feeling better, they both decide to continue their travels by horse. Now they begin traveling through this abandoned looking town filled with broken signs and smashed in windows. They round a street corner and Jeopard sees a mass pile of dead bodies. And Gus gets scared and says, "Mr. Jeopard, I don't want to go this way." Jeopard apologizes and says, "Sorry kid, I ain't rode this way in a while. Should've known better." They hear a loud cracking noise, and Jeopard is gonna go check it out, and Gus, not wanting to be left alone, decides to tag along with Jeopard. Now there are all these dead bodies around, and Jeopard tells Gus, "Stay close and keep quiet." Gus sees someone in a window looking through some curtains, and Gus tells Mr. Jeopard, "Mr. Jeopard, there's someone up there." Jeopard decides to investigate. He kicks in the door of the building, Gus following behind. They run up some steps and down a hall, and they see a shadowy figure go by. Jeopard goes into the room that the shadowy figure escaped into, and he sees a woman on a bed with rabbit ears on, and she says, "Hi, I'm Becky. What's your name?" Issue 4, Out of the Deep Woods, Part 4. So we see this Becky with the rabbit ears, and Jeopard removes those ears, revealing they are fake. Jeopard asks her, "What you playin' at, girl?" All of a sudden, Jeopard gets a gun pointed on him from behind. The man pointing the gun on Jeopard is named Jacob. His partner is Susie, pointing a gun at Gus. Jacob and Susie, they run a prostitution business out of this building. Jacob tells Jeopard, "Drop the rifle, big boy." Jeopard says he doesn't want any trouble, they're just passing through and they'll be on their way. Jacob notices Gus though, and knows that Gus will fetch a pretty penny down at the militia camps. He's not gonna let Gus go. So he tells Jeopard, "Maybe we can work out a trade, eh? I got a lots to offer," gesturing towards the prostitutes in the room. Jeopard, sickened, says, "You're sick. What is she, 15? And what's with these fake rabbit ears?" Jacob explains, "Hey, we aim to please. Changing times, changing tastes." So it appears in this post-apocalyptic world, some people have a fetish to be with these new hybrid people. Jacob offers the other older prostitutes if Jeopard prefers. Jeopard, he's not interested in sex. He just wants to leave with Gus. Now Susie asks, "Where are you headed exactly?" And Gus says that they are headed to the preserve. Becky, the young prostitute, chimes in, "That ain't a real place, it's just a made-up story." Susie tells her partner Jacob to just kill him and be done with it. And Jacob, talking to Jeopard, says, "The preserve? Looks like I ain't the only businessman here, eh, big boy? The wife thinks I should just shoot you. What's stopping me from doing it and taking the freak boy for myself? Little thing like him could be useful round here too. Change in tastes and all." Jeopard tells the man, "If you think you can pull that trigger faster than I can grab that gun and break your frickin' neck, you're welcome to try." Jacob's starting to get a little bit nervous that Jeopard is maybe tougher than he suspected, so he starts sweating and he tells Jeopard, "Bullshit. My wife put a bullet in the freak either way." And Jeopard says, "Don't really care. We're all dead anyway. Now, or a week from now, don't make no difference to me." Jacob, he's sweating bullets now, and he's deciding to back off. He tells Jeopard, "You're a crazy motherfucker." Tells his wife Susie, "Let him go." Susie says, "F that, Jake. We ain't just letting them walk. He could be militia, could send him back here. Jacob tells his wife, this man look like militia to you? Let him go. Ain't worth it, Susie. Susie lets Gus go, and she is not happy about it. Jeopard collects Gus, and the two of them start walking out of the room. As Jeopard passes the 3 aging prostitutes at the door, one of the prostitutes with tears in her eyes whispers, please, to Jeopard, begging for Jeopard to help them. Susie grabs that woman that said that and calls her a stupid bitch. Jeopard, he ignores all of this and just walks onward. As Jeopard and Gus are walking down the stairs of the building, Gus just can't let it go though. He tells Jeopard, those ladies, they look like they were in trouble. Jeopard tells Gus, keep moving. Now Gus, he puts his foot down though. He ain't gonna ignore someone in need. Gus tells Jeopard, no, I ain't going, it ain't right. That man and woman is hurting those ladies, I know it. All of a sudden, Jeopard hears a slap noise coming from upstairs. Jacob and Susie beating on those girls most likely. Jeopard sighs. He clenches his fist. He can't let it go either. Jeopard tells Gus, stay here, as Jeopard begins heading back upstairs. Now back in the room, Susie has a gun on the prostitute that said please earlier. Now Jacob tells the rest of the girls to get back to their rooms. As the girls leave the room, a black female prostitute named Lucy sees Jeopard heading back towards them. Jeopard makes a whisper motion for her to keep quiet. Lucy, she heads back to the room with Jacob. Jacob asks Lucy, what the hell are you smiling at? She is smiling because Jeopard has just snuck up on Jacob and has smashed him in the face with the butt of his gun, knocking Jacob's teeth out. Jacob is on his knees begging. Jeopard doesn't care though. He continues beating Jacob with the butt of his rifle until Jacob is dead. Jeopard then goes to confront Susie. Susie fires on him. Jeopard dodges behind the doorframe. He then charges at Susie and grabs her, and he is holding Susie by the neck. He is going to kill her. Jeopard gets interrupted by that Lucy, who says, no, not her, let me. Jeopard lets Lucy have her revenge, and this Lucy kills Susie. So Jeopard has saved the ladies here. Gus didn't follow Jeopard's instructions, and he followed him into the room and saw Jeopard go to work on these people. As Jeopard and Gus go to leave, Lucy tells Jeopard, wait, you can stay here. We could use someone like you. And Jeopard tells Lucy, lady, you're free to go. You don't have to stay here no more. And Lucy replies, right. And where the hell we gonna go, huh? We ain't exactly got much else to offer. And we're safe here as well as anywhere. You know as well as I do what's out there. What else we gonna do? So these prostitutes, even though they are now free to go, they are just gonna continue being prostitutes because that is all there is for them in this harsh world. Jeopard tells the ladies, we all got sob stories, lady. Ain't my problem. Let's go, Sweet Tooth. Lucy tells Jeopard, fine, get out of here then. We don't need you. The younger prostitute, Becky, tells Gus, there ain't no preserve, kid. You better watch out. Gus, taking offense, says, there is too. Mr. Jeopard is bringing me there. Becky tells Gus, sure, kid. You'll see. Jeopard and Gus leave the building and then leave the town and continue riding on horseback through the rain, the water hitting Gus's face. Gus tells Jeopard that those were the first women he's ever seen, aside from his mama, but he was too little to remember her. Gus asks why those women said there was no preserve, and Jeopard explains, don't know, kid. She was probably just jealous because she couldn't come with us. Gus tells Jeopard he understands why he had to hurt those bad people so the ladies could be okay, and Gus doesn't think that Jeopard is a bad man. And then we have a zoom in on Jeopard's eyes, symbolizing that there is something Jeopard is hiding from Gus, and perhaps Jeopard isn't being as altruistic with Gus as he's led on so far. Issue 5, Out of the Deep Woods, Part 5. Gus and Jepperd continue on their journey. They are headed to Colorado. They have to ride fast for this one part of their trip, because they have to speed through a blockade on the road, where some people have set up school buses blocking the way, and there are men on top with rifles. Jepperd tells Gus to hold on as he pushes the horse as fast as he can. As they are riding, Jepperd is shooting. The people on the bus are shooting back. Jepperd has made his way through the middle of the parked buses, blasting away at people as he passes. It seems like him and Gus are going to make it. But then their horse they are riding gets shot in the leg, and the horse falls down, and Gus and Jepperd go flying off the horse, and Gus cracks his head. As Gus is passing out, he hears the noises of Jepperd beating the shit out of everyone that attacked them. Eventually, Gus floats off to unconsciousness. While Gus is passed out, he dreams of talking with his father. His father is telling Gus that he didn't listen to him, and that the world is full of death and sin and hate. And Gus's dad begins to disintegrate. He tells Gus, "You've gone and sinned, disobeyed me and God, and now you're going to have to pay for it." Gus's dad dies in the dream, and Gus is saddened. Now Gus wakes up, and he sees birds up above flying in the sky. Then he sees Jepperd cleaning some wounds on his arm in a nearby stream. Jepperd tells Gus that they need to keep moving. Gus doesn't feel good though. Jepperd decides to carry Gus and they continue onwards, the sun beating down on them. And Jepperd tells Gus, "All the bad men, they're gone." So Jepperd, he killed all those attackers. Jepperd, he's carrying Gus the rest of the way, carrying him for days. Eventually, Gus felt a little better and was up to walking by himself again. They walk on, they walk up a hill, and eventually they arrive to this preserve Jepperd was talking about. Looking at the preserve, it certainly doesn't look as majestic as what Gus envisioned. They approach a fence. A man with a walkie-talkie tells them to stop right there. The man on the walkie-talkie says, "We have two unknowns approaching the south perimeter." Jepperd calls out to the man with the walkie-talkie and tells him, "Call Abbott. Tell him it's Jepperd." Gus, he is scared and he tells Jepperd, "Mr. Jepperd, I don't like it here. I want to go home." Jepperd is ignoring Gus. A car arrives, a man exits the vehicle, and this man is named Douglas Abbott. This is the Abbott that Jepperd mentioned earlier. Abbott runs this so-called preserve. Abbott, talking to Jepperd, says, "Jepperd, been a while. I thought you were dead." Jepperd replies, "Not yet." Abbott begins inspecting Gus, and he says, well, what do we have here, How old are you? Don't be scared, I won't hurt you." Jepperd answers, "Kid says he's 9. Abbott, confused, says, That's not possible. Well, we better call Sing. He'll want to see this. Take him." So Abbott tells one of his men to collect the boy, but Jepperd, angry, says, "Hold it, Abbott. We had a deal." And Abbott replies, "Yes. How could I forget? Be sure to give Mr. Jepperd his payment, will you? Then put the little freak in the truck and take him to the kennels." Gus is scared. He says, "Mr. Jepperd? What's happening?" So Gus, he doesn't even realize that Jepperd has double-crossed him and is selling him out. The men grab Gus and drag him away. Jepperd is given a mysterious duffel bag as payment. What is in that bag? That is a mystery we will learn later. Gus is crying, yelling out for Jepperd, and Jepperd sees Gus being taken away, and he does feel a little bit bad about it as Jepperd closes his eyes. But whatever was in that duffel bag was worth it for Jepperd. Jepperd walks away with the bag and leaves Gus behind. End of Volume 1. Alright, so that was Sweet Tooth Volume 1. I thought a very good opening volume. I really enjoyed Gus and Jepperd, and I want to learn more about both of those characters. What's going to happen to Gus at this militia facility? What's the deal with Jepperd and his past? What's in that duffel bag? I want to learn more about this world, what caused this plague, what's going to happen in the future. So there's lots of good mystery in this Volume 1 and hooks that make you want to keep on going. Now, with regards to the artwork by Jeff Lemire, I do find that Jeff Lemire, he's not my favorite artist. His artwork is often very rough and scratchy and not as polished as some of the other comics I look at. But I do have to admit, in the context of Sweet Tooth, I think his art style works. It really helps give that post-apocalyptic vibe, so I'm digging it. I thought Volume 1 was a really strong overall opening volume, just establishing everything. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Really good stuff. Thank you all for watching. I'll be returning next week with Sweet Tooth Volume 2. And then, once I'm finished Sweet Tooth, rest assured, I will be returning to American Vampire. I did a video on Volume 1 of American Vampire, and I just intended it to be a one-off video, and maybe I would return to it like a year from now, but the feedback has been really positive. A lot of you seem to really love American Vampire, so once I'm done Sweet Tooth, I will be returning to that. But I will see you all next week for Sweet Tooth Volume 2.